Hello, hello.
Bonjour.
Hey, Charlie, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, good mate. How about you?
I'm
So
doing
you can
great,
hear
mate.
me all right and all that?
Yeah, sounds perfect. Sounds perfect.
Happy days. We made it this time. We
Yeah,
made it.
dude, last time it was so weird. We waited for like 10 minutes and I was sweating. Because like I had no backup plan whatsoever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, I'm really sorry about that. My daughter
no, don't
literally
worry
broke
about
her
it.
arm. It's like, oh shit. My whole day was obviously completely just out of whack.
No, you had a good excuse, so yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. I didn't break it, by the way.
Yeah.
Just to get out of the spaces, I was like, nah, fuck this.
Like, oh, I don't want to do those spaces so bad. Listen, let's break an arm.
Yeah, literally, let's push her over in the shop. Well, it was at Sainsbury's, which is like a supermarket up here. So it was like so bizarre. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, yeah. How is she doing, by the way?
Yeah, well, good mate. Cast is off and all that kind of stuff. So it was just like a little fracture in the end. It wasn't too bad. I think she had it on for like 3-4 weeks.
Oh,
But
that's good.
yeah, kind of done. We're going away for the weekend and hoping that yeah, she doesn't do anything else.
Oh, you
Otherwise,
guys
we'll have
are like
like
going away
social
and leaving.
security.
You guys are like you and your wife are leaving.
Yeah, me, wife and daughter are all going away this weekend, so I'm
Oh,
just
that's nice.
hoping that yeah, there's no more dramas.
Yeah. Dude, I'm flying tomorrow morning to my friend's wedding, and
Oh,
I'm
nice.
I'm still recovering from last weekend's bachelor party. So
Oh
it's
Jesus,
it's
you're at that
you
age where
start
you get
feeling
like
it, you
weak
know?
hangovers. Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't like drinking anymore because I like 2-day hangovers. Do you know what I mean? I'm quite happy to like have a social drink, but getting absolutely fucked seems
Yeah.
to ruin me for days now, which is
Dude,
just
literally the
depressing.
whole like we finished the bachelor party, I think Sunday morning, and I don't think my body reset till like Tuesday.
Jeez.
But yeah, it was fun. All right.
Mad.
So I think we can just jump right into it. We have a bunch of people here.
Yeah, sure, man.
Um, Let me see. We have Reese with us as well. How are you, Reese? All right. Well,
Made it.
yeah. How's it going, mate?
Bonjour.
It's going well, thank you, man. I'm just in Barcelona at the moment. It's hot, hot, hot.
Oh, nice. Enjoy, mate. Enjoy. For like a crypto thing, or
Just to get away for a little bit, actually. Just to change of
no?
pace. The UK was a bit too miserable for me.
Did British people go to either Spain or Thailand? Like no in between. It's like these are the two choices you guys have.
Yeah, there's not many choices. Just anywhere that isn't the UK tends to be a good choice, to be fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, all the listeners, Charlie, thank you guys for coming. Pleasure to host you guys every single time. This is, I think, it's the 25th episode of Spill the Alpha, so that's a nice milestone for us to scratch off. And Charlie, thank you a lot for coming and for showing up. Good to have you on, mate.
Thanks for having
To
me on.
everyone who doesn't know Charlie, Charlie, I've been following Charlie for a couple of years now. One of the top altcoin traders, I think, on CT. You should check out his profile. Make sure to follow him if you don't. He has a YouTube channel. I'm not sure what the handle of the YouTube channel is, but you can probably find it on his profile. Very frequent uploads and really high quality stuff. So make sure to check that out. And he's also running the Paragon group, right, together with Magus and Doc.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is we already mentioned it in the previous episode with Magus as well. If you guys are interested in any kind of educational content, make sure to take a look at that as well. So yeah, thanks for coming, mate. How's it going? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I mean, it's half term, so I've been a little less active on the trading front this week. Spending some time with my daughter and stuff, and like enjoying the fact that she's not at school. But yeah, generally it's good. Triggering
Yeah, good.
CT a little bit by posting a Bitcoin short, which is always wonderful. You know.
Yeah, and it's even better when it starts playing out.
I think it's slightly underwater at the moment, but
Oh yeah.
I explained it all on my live stream the other day. It's like, God, people just get so salty. It's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a really good time to take some time off, like the market's been pretty boring, I think. Yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying the conditions, to be honest. Both trading, like less screen time for me, and to be honest, the performance in this range has been pretty good. So hopefully it goes on like this all summer.
Yeah, that's nice, man. I mean, I found the majority of people that I've spoken to like made more money in the general trending periods than they do like in ranges, and that's when like you're awake every hour of the day, you're getting the
Yeah.
in, you're trying to find every rotation. But basically, if you punt something, you're probably gonna make money, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, because most people are not good traders, but holding some longs and just not doing much is it's pretty easy in trading conditions, right?
yeah, exactly. Like markets range, they trend, they range, they trend. And if you're buying in a range and you are assuming that there's going to be, a leg up, and when that comes, you are just selling into like peaks of it. Happy days. I know a lot of people who are like trading those trending times. So yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah,
more like um the beginning part of the year as opposed to like now. Obviously now we've been in this like little range for a while, but basically any
yeah, like
time since
3 months now.
2023 it's been a general uptrend, right? It's been reasonably easy to trade if you've been long biased. Like it's been quite nice.
Yeah. Oh, I want to ask you something regarding what you just said, but before we jump into that, I want to
Yeah.
remind everyone if anyone has any questions, on the bottom right corner of your screen, there's like a small chat box. You can click on that, leave any questions, and we will come back to that towards the end of the episode. Also, if anyone wants to hop on towards the last part of the show, just feel free to request, and we'll be letting you guys jump in to ask Charlie anything you want to ask. And also make sure to check out the IDEX profile because we have a competition right now on the testnet, a trading competition. You guys can trade with paper money, fake money, right? Like we all do, and win actual prizes. There's, I think it's 2 million IDEX tokens for prizes, which is around, Reese, correct me if I'm wrong, I think right now it's like $250,000. First place is around $50,000 in prizes. So yeah, trade paper money, win real money. That's something worth checking out. I think right now it's on pause. There's been a couple of issues with the market makers on the test net because no market maker wants to make markets on the test net. Um, but yeah, make sure to join the Discord. Check that out. Um, so Charlie, I want to touch on what you just said. Like you said, most people perform better on trending markets, and they don't do so well in ranging conditions. Why do you think it's so hard for most people to, just accept the fact that you're in range and just buy the bottom of the range, sell the top of it? And it's like every single time we reach a height or a low of a range, it's always like, okay, this is the breakout on CT. You know what I mean?
I think it's like a combination of patience, experience, expectations. Like, if you can't, and this was me, right, when I first started, every single trade or position you took, you were always right in it. The market was always going to 5x. And if you come in, like, imagine you came in at the bottom of 2023, or even just like the beginning of 24, right? You came into the market and all you fucking known is up only, right? So every time you put a long on, you basically win. You basically take some money out of the market, and all you're used to is big breakouts when ranges break, huge levels of continuation, 20, 30, 40% rotations intraday, like massive vol. Like, if that's what you're used to, then going into a vol compressed environment where you're looking at ranges where you're not expecting breakouts, and if they do break out, you're kind of waiting at 50-50 as to whether there's continuation or just reversion. Like, a lot of people, I guess, have that personal optimism, that perpetual optimism of it's gonna just pump and this is gonna be the move. This is the one trade that is gonna make it for me. And the reality is, very few people make it in one trade, right? And
Yeah,
I think that maturity arc of spending time in the markets, of stopping believing the hype and all that kind of stuff. I think people want generally, and I'm one of these people, by the way, people want just the bigger trades. They want to make 50% return. They want to make 100% return. They're not interested in consistently doing 10 trades a week that give you 2%, right? It's just fucking boring, isn't it? Like, but it's
Yeah,
great if
that's
you
the
can
reality of
compound.
trading, right?
Yeah. The reality of trading is it's much more boring than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
Being disciplined, waiting for the trigger, not just aping some dog shit for the sakes of it, not just putting on a position because you're bored and you want some exposure. Like, it's real money you're pissing around with. And I don't know, some people go completely left curve and absolutely crush it by sticking their entire net worth in the right meme coin and watching it 100x, right? Fair
Yeah.
play to them. But that's not really trading, is it? That's kind of low cap degenerate gambling, which I do somewhat, but it's not
Yeah.
exactly.
It's fun going to the casino.
Yeah, it's fun going to the casino. Exactly that. It's play money. You throw it away, right? You put some
Exactly.
money in it. If it comes back at 10x what you put in, fucking great. If it goes to zero, meh.
Yeah. So, like, I know that you're mostly a momentum trader, correct me if I'm wrong, right? So,
Yeah.
do you participate in ranging conditions, or do you try to avoid it and just wait for some triggers and jump back into it at the right time?
Yeah, so I participate much less in ranging environments, but there's always a trending market in crypto, almost always. Like, apart from like genuine bear market lows where there was like literally zero volatility, right? And what I use to get that is spaghetti. So a lot of people would have seen me post spaghetti charts and go, "What the fuck is this?" It just looks like a huge amount of lines and a load of bullshit. And it's like, well, actually, what that's telling you is what is moving outside of the market. So most of the market is static. Like today, we had rotations from things like Jasmy. We had a Luna news trade, which obviously I don't news trade. I'm not fast enough to do that. I don't have like a news execution terminal or anything like that, and I don't want to. Like Audi was another one. Like there were three real good rotations today that were very visible on Spaghetti. The Luna one far too slow to be able to get. But the other two are pretty stand out, pretty not easy because I don't think there's a such thing as like an easy or a free trade. And when people say, "Oh, Charlie, what's an easy 2x for the rest of the year?" I'm like, mate, if I knew that, I'd just leverage everything to the tits, put it on there, and that's it, right? Job done. I don't think there is such thing as a free trade. I had like a
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
chunk of my net worth on FTX at one point, getting my 7% APR or whatever from lending stables. Was that a free trade? Meh. Managed to get it out before it went under, but thankfully. But yeah, there's kind of risk everywhere in crypto is my point. But yeah, I
no,
trade altcoin momentum in these ranges, and I use spaghetti as the identifier for it, really. A lot of my trade triggers are actually around that relative strength. And, not to suck myself off, but I did a reasonably good explanation of like a SHIB trade on my last live stream the other day. And I was like, look, guys, this is exactly what I want to see. This is how it's if it plays out like this is what would trigger a trade. This is how I would enter it. And it just played out to the T. And actually, that thought process of here's some basic market structure, here's some EMAs if you really fancy them, here's the range, and here's the relative strength and triggers that you want to see to jump in on that position and then hold that position and ride it for a rotation. Like that's how I tend to trade. I think the whole spaghetti thought process is the one that sort of changed my trading massively to be because when I said earlier that people don't want to get those 10 trades for 2%, I'm people, right? that's that's me. I do want to get the best performing coin, but for several reasons. One, it tends to be the best percentage return. Two, it tends to be the most forgiving in terms of actually you get a pretty strong uptrend as it goes. And if it stays the best performing asset, like we've seen Pepe the last last week or two, like it's been really forgiving to trade when you've been in that position. And yeah, longing strength sounds really fucking stupid, but it doesn't work that way.
yeah. I think just thinking about how I was trading into strength and into like emerging rotations and stuff like that in the early days of my trading. I think one of the biggest issues I see with some people that try to trade that is they just jump right in 100% all in, right? And they don't leave themselves any place for error. And like I said, they're basically trying to find that one trade which will 2-3x within a couple of weeks. And just there's no defense, no planning forward whatsoever, and stuff like that. Which is a
Yeah,
little bit different
100%.
than how you do that. I can imagine.
Well, I mean, being a trader is being a professional loser, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
the fucking reality of it. And I struggled with that massively when I started, right? Because I always thought I was right, and I couldn't lose. And I'm sure people have been in this position before, where you've had a trade open, you're like, well, if it goes down to $1, I'll close it here. Yeah, it's at $1. Well, it looks okay. It might
Uh-huh.
bounce back. It's at 95 cents. Yeah, wish I'd closed it at $1. All right, I'll close it at 92.
Yeah, I'll wait for the bounce and then I'll close it. It bounces and then
Yeah.
you just
Please
hold it.
God, if you bounce this one time, I promise I'll never over leverage again. And I
Yeah,
think
I mean, we've all
when
been there, right? I think it's part of the
yeah,
process of like
yeah,
just learning those things.
yeah, and a lot of trading, and why I love it, and why I don't think I'm ever going to kind of give it up, really, in some regard. Like I'm gonna. The plan is to move away from like low time frame rotations, like at the end of this year, right? And then next year onwards, just be a bit more of a positional trader. So just aim to take about 10 trades a year and just go for the higher time frame plays, just like
Yeah,
literally daily, weekly charts only, and just take a bit more of a passive role. But until then, we continue playing rotations and doing all that kind of stuff.
yeah. I mean, at
Um,
some point, it's also part of your growth, right? I mean, at some point, your portfolio is big enough for you to just aim for those 10 trades that will give you a decent return on your, like, it's basically you're just starting to aim for a good uh, API on your, or APY on your portfolio, and that's it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
100%. And that's why like your risk profile changes. Like if I look at my risk profile from 2017 compared to now, like this cycle I was completely risk averse in terms of I put some sized bets on, some decent sized bets on things like Doge, for example. Um, and that paid more than probably all of my degeneracy in 2017. So,
yeah,
you know, it's one of those things. But I still love the game of like low time frame rotations and running up, quote unquote smaller accounts into something a bit more substantial.
yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, I want to also ask you about your beginning, right? How did you get into trading? What was like? How did you get into trading generally and specifically crypto? Obviously.
Yeah, man. So way back when, like I remember being on being on a like call with one of my friends. I can't remember what we were playing, like Dota or WoW or some shit. And he's like a doctor of what was he, like a doctor of IT or some shit. And I read the Bitcoin pizza story and I was that sounds really interesting. Um and he was like, "No, mate, that's bullshit. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "All right, I'll trust your opinion," and just ignored it. And obviously, if I bought it, I would have sold it a week later anyway. But anyway, I went into
Yeah,
forex at that point, and I started trading forex. I think I put like £1,000 into a forex account and ran it down to like 500 or something within like a week. And I was like, "Yeah, this trading thing's a bit shit. Fuck this." And that was obviously like 2011, 12, maybe. I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to like invest or trade or do something of that ilk because I was an accountant and money and the flow of money and how all of that worked was always like really fascinating to me. And then in 2017, all my gamer friends, or a couple of them, started getting into crypto, and they were like, "Oh, I just made 50 quid, made 100 quid, made 10 grand." Like, da, 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 da. It all started escalating, and we all got into it together in 2017. And we all did well in
did you buy the
different
top?
ways. Did I buy the top? No, no, no. My first purchase was August, I think it was August 2017 on the
Oh,
local
nice.
bitcoins. So yes, bought a couple of Bitcoin and it was just like I remember like the first day, like you probably time it by the chart. I put I think it was 1 or 2 Bitcoin into Einsteinium on Bittrex, and it literally went like 2x in a day, and I was like, "Oh, this is fucking easy! Oh my god!" And the whole cycle went like that. Like me and my mates were just fucking idiots. Like we're gonna buy this because there's a logo rebrand. One of my mates had like I don't know 500k in XVG, like and sold it 4 hours I think before it pumped like 100x. So he woke up, checked his blockfolio, and then was like, "Oh fuck, I sold it all last night. Jesus Christ." So yeah, it was just trauma in like 2017. But overall, we did all right. We learned a lot of what not to do, and sadly, most of the boys kind of quit after that. Like, I think there's, I'm relatively known for fumbling like $1 billion bag of shib. I didn't fucking
Yeah.
fumble it. I got a decent like 6-figure stack out of it, so it's not exactly
Dude, I
bad.
remember
Like
you bought SHIB really
$100.
early. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
were really, really early.
Yeah, like literally, it was like I don't know, one of the first 1,000 transactions or some shit. But like I was convinced, I was trying to convince them all in the WhatsApp chat to come back to crypto and buy this SHIB shit, and nobody did, obviously. And I shielded them an entire portfolio in like 2019 and stuff, and none of the boys came back. But that was kind of how I got into it. I basically 10x'd. I went like 30, 40x in my first cycle, and I cashed out about 10x, and then just rode the rest down like minus 75%. And at that point, I was like basically ready to capitulate. But what I did is I sold everything, apart from some BTC holdings, but that's a kind of different story. I've held that for a long time, and I was like, right, I'm gonna write a fucking business plan. I'm gonna do this properly. I'm gonna treat this like a business, and I'm gonna be a bit more fucking sensible about all of this. I still remember the Kobe tweet of what are you going to do the next time you see a chart like this? And it was Bitcoin at like, it went from 3K to 19K in just like a complete parabolic curve, which is why I trade off parabolas a bit, because it just is the like collective reflection of market psychology in a chart, right? It's that euphoria of buying after the like intense run up, and then there's no more buy pressure to support that. And like, it will always scar me from 2017, that like parabolic move, and just how we were all fucking geniuses at 19K, and then like 3 weeks later at 10K we were all fucking like retarded. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it all got a bit like serious for me after that, and I was like, doing my little low time frame rotations, thinking I was a Chad trader. Kind of built a trading system in that period of chop in 18, and then I think it was really 19 when I started actually really being consistent with my discipline, with my execution. And I was only trading really Bitcoin and ETH at this point, and I started going into altcoins like on a rotational basis when I found spaghetti and relative strength. And I think I was lucky in the sense of 2019-ish. I get the times wrong, but you get the principle. I was actually starting to figure out momentum and momentum-based trading, which was kind of all just in time for obviously COVID crash of 21 and the absolute wild
Were you
market.
trading full time then already?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was technically unemployed in 17. I'd basically sold a business back then, and I was unemployed, I guess. So I wouldn't say I was trading full time. I was gambling whilst playing computer games and enjoying the fruits of my previous labor. So
Beautiful.
yeah, it's a bit different. And then when I decided to kind of take it seriously, it was because I actually wanted it as a source of income, and you know the amount of money that I kind of just pissed up the wall in 2017. It was like, do I really want to lose that amount again without through my own stupidity? It's fine if it's something like FTX and it's a it's a big rug. So I had Cryptopia, for example. I think I had about 9 Bitcoin in Cryptopia, which is obviously like a decent amount now, isn't it? It's not a small amount at $72,000 a piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of that cycle, and a lot of pain, a lot of learnings. I don't know many people. Actually, no, I do. I know one person. Who in that cycle he made about 7.8 million, sold the top, and just went, "Fuck this, I'm out." Got his pilot's license and never looked back.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sounds like you take, like, it sounds like you take a lot of responsibility with your moves. Like I said, you just gave the example of like losing money in a rug or something, or actually losing money because of your own mistakes. And I feel like
Yeah, yeah.
that's such a super important thing to have as a trader, right? To be able to actually call your own shit and be able to take responsibility and learn from it.
Yeah, 100%. And and that was one of the hardest things for me really, was being objective about my decision making and go, would I show this to my wife? Would I show this to my accountant? Would I show this to the group? Am I proud of this trade? Does this trade setup look good? Is my thought process actually reasonable? So I always like try and differentiate it these days with a good trade isn't one that makes money necessarily, because it can be a stupid fucking reason and you can just go, well, I'm going to short the lows. Okay, well, what else? Why are you doing it? Well, I'm bored. Bang. Well, it worked out. All right, well, you just short the lows every time in an uptrend? Like, if there's not really anything else behind it, yeah, you made money, but the next time you do that, you're probably going to get fucked in the ass. Like, if you've got nothing backing it up, like you haven't got any real strategy behind it that's back tested or forward tested and you've been trading and using, like you're just playing the game of luck, and one day it's going to really bite you in the ass. So yeah, I think only you can hold yourself accountable really in the world of trading, because only you know your P&L and only you know your reasons for entering or exiting said trade at said point in time, right? And that's why
Yeah,
I like it. It's kind
100%.
of it's you v other people, but it's mostly you v you. And I didn't realize that when I first got into it. Like the amount of stuff I learned about how I can be a complete greedy cunt, how I can be impatient, and just refining all those parts of your psychology to be, a better trader is it's an ongoing challenge, right? And I'm still not perfect.
100%.
I still round trip some trades. I still hold them for a bit longer or take profits too early. I'm never gonna say I've got it perfect, and that's why I love the game.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like trading full time is one of the hardest jobs a person can do as like a self-employed, you know,
Yeah.
self-employed person, because it's like I said, you really have those fights with yourself. It's everything is against the instincts, everything is against what you've learned your whole life, right? So yeah. So I want to touch on the challenges you've been through. What do you feel like were the biggest challenges through your whole journey of trading? Whether if it's in the beginning or if it's something that is still happening every once in a while.
I think the I think the biggest challenges are that they're always changing, right? And I think half the battle, as we've kind of talked about, is being self-aware of them, by reviewing your own trades, by journaling, by I do a bit less journaling than I probably should do these days, but just by being self-aware, I guess, and evaluating your trades post execution. But I've struggled with different things at different times. So when the market looks like utter dog shit, I struggle to be like, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to buy this. Like, I want to be buying into some form of strength, right? So buying spot Doge, for example, with size when it was one of the last memes to break out of the accumulation range made me very uncomfortable, but I practically did it because that was, the experience kicking in of, yes, okay, it looks a bit shitty. Chances are, with everything else blowing up, this is going to go too. You can get decent size with it, and the liquidity is decent. And when it does go, it's likely to go pretty hard. Would I have done that last cycle? Probably not. So I don't know. I think there's like a series of things that I've had to overcome in my journey. So one of them is like executing and taking risk on at the lows instead of not the highs, obviously, but instead of when we start to build bullish momentum. Um, I'd say originally one of my biggest flaws was learning to lose, and just accepting that I was wrong. That like analogy of I'll sell at $1, I'll sell at 95, or I'll close at 95, I'll close at 91. Like that was me. That was the first like few months of pain when I was just like, it's gonna reverse. And the amount of times I
Yeah,
just did stupid shit like that. Um, you know, and the simplest ways to overcome them are journal, understand what behaviors drive it. So for me, it was two things: it was trading while tired or hungover, and mobile trading. Like I used to trade on my mobile, and I used to be so distracted So like we sat at dinner and I had like a massive position on BSV one night. I remember it clear as day. And it was like I sat there, like my mum was down, and my wife, my daughter also sat there. I was just like kept checking my phone, just like, fuck, just lost another 10 grand, another 10 grand bosh, like this was back in like 2018, 2019. I was like, Jesus, this dinner's cost me like 30K at this point. Fuck.
Well, that's what you get if you long BSV.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my own stupid fault, right? Longing fucking Satoshi's vision. But yeah, it's just that constant game of like, wow. And I think a lot of people don't understand it. I guess they don't understand the rush that you get when you long, and then there's that massive green dildo, and you're like, fuck, look at that. Versus, yeah, I've sat in front of the PC for 40 hours this week, and I've lost, X amount of money. How many people in the normal working world, if you went to work for an entire week and you came out of it
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
go, you owe me 10 grand, it just doesn't happen, does it? So yeah, there's psychological pitfalls of that, learning to lose, risking at the appropriate times are probably the biggest challenges, because like my strengths are process, um, logic, analysis, like the whole accountancy, autism brain, like helped with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that probably covers it. Sorry, that's a long answer, isn't it?
No, that's a really good answer. When do you feel like everything started clicking into place and, trading got better, you got better as a person, as a trader, and all
I think
that?
it would have been like late 2018, 2019 in terms of things just started to morph. I stopped making all the stupid mistakes, like not stopped entirely, but the rate of mistakes versus decent trades got much better. The mistakes that I was learning or that I was making, I was learning from. I started to become profitable, and actually the system that I was using was quite simple and quite basic, but I was executing it well, and I was learning when and why. Well, not why necessarily, but more when it was less effective. So, if you have a low time frame range breakout and you're sat there every single time trying to just short as if it's going to, deviate back into the range, like how quickly do you need to cut that? Like that kind of skill, I guess, just to go, no, this isn't this has got no oomph in it, no continuation. I'm closing it, even if it's for a small loss or break even or whatever. Like that, when all of that started clicking and it started becoming a little bit more of a muscle memory, was definitely around that kind of 2018, end of 2018, 2019 kind of area. A bit of a
Yeah,
boring. And I think that's where I was lucky to basically trade shit conditions, and then it took time to adapt to like the really good conditions in 2020, 2021. But I'd seen them before, so the process of adapting to it was a lot quicker for me, I think, than people who like joined in the bear market. But obviously, you don't get many people who join in the bear market.
yeah,
But I always say you've got to play the game on hard mode to know what easy mode feels like. And so when we get periods of like now, I suppose, like I still think this is quite good volatility, to be honest with you, but it's not the easiest market of all of them, of all the times we've had it, right? This
yeah. I
is,
mean, every bull market is going to get less and less volatile, I think.
yeah, of course,
As
it's
things get
like,
more regulated and everything.
yeah, and just the laws of it, of what is it, the kind of exponential returns is just not, well, it's diminishing returns, isn't it? In this case, it's
Yeah,
like every single cycle is going to be diminishing returns because yeah, it just is, probably by virtue of the fact that price is much higher, much, so many more people are aware of it, like the influx of new demand versus supply. I mean, I get the whole like mining argument, limit supply, blah blah blah, but yeah, short version, going to be diminishing.
yeah. So, if, for example, someone is listening right now and they've joined in the last couple of months, right? So they didn't join in the bear market and the tough times. What would you suggest them to do to like get better and overcome those things that they're experiencing?
Oh yeah, fucked, it's over. Just leave. No, I'm joking. I think the biggest and the easiest thing that I don't think most people are honest with themselves about, and that they do or don't do, is treat it semi-seriously, as in create a little Discord for just you, copy all your charts in there where you're taking the trade, why you're taking the trade, understand your logic, your reasoning. The biggest and simplest thing that people can do is just do that and literally journal, review, learn. And it sounds stupid, but when I was trying to get good at World of Warcraft, I recorded my games, and then I looked at it and I went, "Wow, why the hell did I do that then? That was fucking stupid." Next time it comes round, guess what? I didn't do it. And the same process. This is why pros record their games. This is why football games these days, not that I follow the sport or anything, but it's all recorded. They look at each other's strategies, they see what they could have done better, they see what they could have done worse, and that's that constant, like, if you can refine and get better 1% every day, that is incredible in terms of exponential returns, versus the most people just think they can turn up to what is one of the most competitive things in the world, i.e. trading, and just fucking nail it. It's probably because they've seen some Forex adverts on YouTube and
Yeah.
you're fine,
Trading from the beach while drinking something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm just in line at Hamleys, and I've just earned £30,000 by my AI strategy. Yeah, fucking. You lost 100 grand the day before, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
I just think that's probably the one bit that that I'd say is that discipline. And for me, like, I don't think that there's a better opportunity to generate wealth than crypto. Like, I just don't. Maybe I'm not aware of some market or something where the normal person who isn't an institutional investor, depending on where you're from, the laws of investing and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think that there's a better opportunity to generate generational wealth than crypto. So it's that balance of, if you want to be in the space, great. Have a plan, have a strategy. If it's meme coins, if you want to just fucking dump 10% of your paycheck in some random meme coin and hope to hit the lottery ticket, great. But don't fucking complain when you see someone earning, a decent 10% return each month, trading. Like, that's not you. That's not your niche, your calling. That's, something completely different. And I know people who've gone down that route, right? They've gone down the route of, nah, I'm just going to fucking gamble on low caps. And sometimes it just takes one, a couple of grand in one, bang, there's 100, 200x. That's a decent chunk of money to get either started in crypto or just take half out, live life for a bit, and enjoy. So I guess the message is reflect on yourself, and I wouldn't give up on crypto personally, but
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think you also, like, people just got to be real as well, right? I mean, I totally agree that crypto is probably the best opportunity for people to make money nowadays, and we're talking like the big money, right? But the risk is there at the same time that is really huge, right? And we see this every single year. Exchanges collapsing, rugs left and right, especially when we're talking about meme coins and stuff like that. So gotta be gotta be real and make sure that you understand that the risk is there as well, and not just be like hopeful that, oh, some dude on Twitter posted about this contract address, so I'll just ape into it.
I'll just ape, and if it goes up, I'm a genius, and if it goes down, there I can't. That's how that trade works, right?
Exactly right.
It goes back to that: review your actions and take responsibility, right? Take responsibility. It's you pressing that button, and it's like, even going back to me, and I know there's probably going to be people in this spaces who have been affected negatively by FTX, right? Like, the whole thing, absolutely disgusting. I'm not excusing it for a second, but like, people make a choice to put an amount of money on an exchange, right? And that's a real risk. So I always have like exchange risk as part of like my thought process of where my capital and money is allocated, right? So like, I trade on Bybit mostly, and do I have my entire net worth on Bybit? Absolutely not. Do I think it's going to go under? Absolutely not. Not financial advice, obviously, but that's a risk. And that's, like you were saying, there's risks at every point in this market that you turn. Like, whether it's approving an on-chain transaction, suddenly your wallet's drained. Clicking a link that someone sent you, bosh, similar things. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely not without its risks, this market.
Yeah, yeah. Well, talking about altcoins, I want to ask you about majors against altcoins. Let's say someone new is coming into this market. Do you feel like they need to first of all trade majors like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe like Solana, and like kind of master them, kind of get a grasp of how things work, trading something more, stable, and then move to altcoins? Or do you feel like people can just jump right into altcoins and, no need to even give a chance to majors?
I I think you'll hear conflicting views on this, and it'll depend where that person has come from. So I was trading like mostly Bitcoin needs to start with, and then I went into altcoins and did it that way. So that's my experience. But I think if going back to the point of what type of trader do you want to be? Are you scalping low time frames and doing 1,000 trades, in an hour, or are you trying to ride um, altcoin momentum like I do on Spaghetti? I wouldn't bother trying to trade ETH and Sol if you were trying to do a rotational spaghetti type strategy and follow that, right? And the reason is that they're quite different because one is trying to jump on board existing momentum and the other is just price action, trading ranges, the ability to execute and all that kind of stuff. On the assumption that you're kind of trading a medium time frame, right? I guess that's the kind of gist of the
Yeah.
question. So I think if you've got a strategy in mind that suits you, and by suits you, I mean it suits your risk, it suits your time frame tolerance, your attention span, your capital. What are you kind of not aiming for necessarily because the market will just give you whatever the fuck you get, right? You can't go, well, I want a 400% return this year. That's great. It's a bear market.
Yeah.
The entire market has moved 0%, if you've extracted any money out of it, you've probably done pretty well, right? So, short answer to your question would be, I don't see it as you have to start with ETH or Sol. I actually think that starting with a smaller balance that doesn't mean too much to you and getting the process over the profitability first, and the kind of comfort of executing and the confidence to execute a strategy that you can actually see. Well, if I can turn $100 into $150, I can probably do $1,000 into $1,500, right? And then obviously keep going until like liquidity becomes a bit more of a problem and a challenge. You
No.
take that in your stride, but yeah, I think focusing on process as opposed to the asset necessarily is probably more important.
All right. So if someone is new to trading altcoins and they're getting right into it right now, what advice would you give them to, like, how would you suggest them to start? What advice would you give them?
Oof, not financial advice, obviously. I mean, I could just do the cringe thing of like, say, find someone whose strategy you like, and like, not you can either just reach out and ask them, right, and ask them questions or learn from them, but you're never going to learn as much from other people as you are just by doing. But in my opinion, and I did this as well, so I am speaking from experience that I learned from other people. I did different groups, courses, all that kind of stuff, and like assimilated different people's trading styles into my own. Because some people are really good at certain things. Like there are people on here that are incredible at, discipline. There are people on here that are incredible at low time frames. There are people that are great at momentum and kind of balance it out between learning from someone, people who have achieved what you want to achieve, and just trading, just sitting there and back testing and going, right, I want to do the altcoin rotation stuff. Great. Who's good at that? These people. Right. Let's watch some of their streams. Let's get involved. If I want to start trading it, then just start back testing. How am I actually going to execute this? What do I need to see? Like, if can I back test that 10 times and be profitable, or 100 times and be profitable, right? Can I then take that into a live environment with a small amount of money and do it, practice it,
Yeah.
do that
Just
work and
start
get
clicking
in.
pretty much.
Just start clicking. Yeah, like you need that experience. Like I've probably got, I don't know, unbelievable. You can't do like a slash played like you can in World of Warcraft, right? But if I
Yeah.
did that for time in front of charts, I imagine it's past that 10,000 hour mark, right? I've spent the best part of 7 years doing it. It's a long fucking time. And when you add up all the mistakes that I've made, all the good things that I've done, uh, it all adds up massively. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it is one of the best ways of learning. Like, I don't know, personally, I can read books, I can listen to podcasts, I can do all that kind of stuff. And that really informs my framework for understanding things. But when it comes to, there's no substitute for execution, really.
Yeah,
It just reaffirms
definitely.
learnings very quickly.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah,
I've
kind of
been
that.
there, right? I mean, I think it took me like a year and a half or 2 years until it became profitable, right? And it's been a
Yeah,
lot of many, many months of finishing in the red, right? And I really think that this is the only way to learn and actually get better. Because, right, you can always follow someone on Twitter, but if you don't like, and there's two types of people, right? There's people who actually just share trade ideas and that's it. And there's people who try to teach you and explain their thought process, which is much healthier.
yeah,
Um, but you need to be able to think on your own, right? To work on your own critical thinking when it comes to taking trades and stuff like that. Build your own strategies, because it's your money, right? Um, so yeah, I think clicking is definitely like just practicing things. Like theory is gonna just take you so far, right?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's great. So I know that you're also very active on in like the DeFi space, right? I don't know if you're trading on DEXs, but I do know that you're very active with altcoins on in like the DeFi space. Like we said earlier, you bought SHIB at ridiculously low market cap, and I remember seeing that post and I faded it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, most
Um,
people did. It was like, why would we need another meme coin? We've got Doge. And now,
Dude,
7 years on, or
it's I
6 years
hate
on,
it.
we've
I
got a
hate it
billion.
so much because I'm such a skeptic person. And Hart shilled me with a 10 million market cap. I swear to God, and I totally faded it. Um, and yeah, missed out on a lot of money.
Well, I had
But
similar with Pepe again. This was it was 320k market cap when I saw it, and I was really ill. I was like fucking full of cold and deaf, and I was like, "Do you know what? I cannot like." One of my rules is that I shouldn't be basically gambling when I'm ill, and because it cost me a
mhm,
lot of money before, like being tired or being ill, and yeah, in that instance, it cost me money, but the other way around, it cost me a lot of opportunity. I was like, man, my whole phone's full of Pepe's. I should just like, chuck a few ETH in and just like and see what happens. Yeah, yeah, and then like, by the time I felt better, it was at like 3 or 5 million market cap, and I was like, oh, I missed the pump.
yeah, I
What's
missed
that
it.
now? How many billions are that now?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. I remember Whiff pumped from 10 million market cap to like 25, and then it dipped to like 20, I think, or 18 million, and I was like, should I buy it? Maybe I should throw a couple of Solanas into it. Nah, that's it. It's dying from here. It's
Yeah,
over.
it's done. It's over. I think that's the
But
thing with memes. It's so hard to like take on that risk and like they're binary bets in most cases, right? Like
yeah,
obviously whiffs when it's at like 10 million is a bit different and stuff. But yeah, I do a lot of on-chain stuff, but I see them all, or most of them anyway, as real binary bets of just I'm happy to put this amount of money in it. It's gonna 10x or it's gonna go to zero. There is no in between, right? I'm not going to go, oh shit, my like 10k is down to 5. Oh no, shit, I'm going to get that out. I'm like, nope, that's it, it's done. It's written off at the
yeah,
point that I chuck it in, like because I bought one coin, I think it was Conan, which was like Donald Trump's dog or some shit, and it was at like I can't remember, it was like 600k market cap or something. And I was like, right, we'll just fucking leave it. And Bosch, like a couple of months later, it's at like 30. I think it went like 2 or 3x, and then it went like minus 80%, and then it went like boom off to infinity, like up to like 30-40 million market cap or something stupid. You know what I mean? Like it was just like
yeah.
wow, and that's
But
kind of where you keep a moon bag.
yeah, but there's also like the survivorship bias, right? A lot of people like it's very easy to look at With, look at Pepe and everything else, but there's hundreds of thousands of rugs, or
Yeah.
just not rugs, but just things that go to zero. So I
Yeah,
think
look at the
it's
million things that went to fucking zero. Like, yeah, it's real high risk. But I like it, right? And I think the reason I like it is probably the personality trait that I've got, which is I want the big win, I want the big home run, I want the big hitter, I want the fastest moving altcoin, I want, the number one spot. So I'm hyper competitive, which is a good thing I think in trading once you know how to like work around some aspects of it. Um, I think that in and of itself, like saying, well, I put 5K into this and now it's like $500,000 is absolutely, it's wild, isn't it? Let's be honest.
yeah, yeah, it is. So would you suggest the average trader to also, open up a little bit of a on-chain portfolio and like experiment with those things, or at what stage would you suggest someone to just
I think
jump into
it's
that?
pretty difficult with where the market is at the moment in terms of like there's so many. I think we're reasonably like advanced in this cycle, right? We're definitely not at the beginning of this cycle. No, we're somewhere between like the beginning and the end, and I would say we're probably halfway through. And I think the last bit, if there is a last bit, indeed, and this isn't distribution, etc., that bit's probably the bit where you make the most money because everything goes like
Yeah,
exponentially retarded, and it's that euphoria phase where everything marks up like 2x overnight, and you can make just as much money in the next like 2 months potentially as the last 2 years. But there's a lot of froth already. There's 20,000 coins being launched a day. So how, unless you've got like a really good system for scoping out new launches, looking for like thick liquidity and like specific, wallets that are following and buying them and stuff, and you can see that they're consistently profitable, and you have a trading strategy around it, or you just buy memes that you like with money that you can afford to lose. Like, there's not really anything outside of those two that I would say yes, really, really go for it. Do you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
it's so risky, it's so diluted. Um, but if there's been a coin that's kind of got a good little meme around it, one of my friends sent me one today, right? And I'm not gonna talk about it specifically. I won't give the name of it.
just DM me the name later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I will. I'll DM it to you, and then if it goes to zero and it rugs, right, we never talk about it again. But if it doesn't,
Exactly.
I'm the greatest meme trader alive. Um, but the reality is, it's like it is quite a good meme. It's a good like thought process. It's like a 1.6 million market cap. It's got about 200K volume today, so it's not completely dead. Do you know what I mean? It's not incredible either in terms of being super early, but I've punted some money in it, and we'll kind of see what happens with it, right? Like, I think there's a narrative there. I think that it could work, but to say to somebody, yeah, go down this route of trading, like do that to start off. I don't think I could I could say, yeah, go
Yeah,
for it. You know what I mean? Unless you are literally that's what you want to do. You're here for one lottery ticket and that is your quote unquote golden ticket. You literally just go for it.
yeah, and I love that approach of yours about what you said about the current stage of where we are with the market, because there's so many people talking about how the bull market hasn't even started, like we haven't seen anything, and it's like it
It's
drives me crazy
bollocks.
when I see that, because dude, we went from nothing, right? Like there's so many things that went at least like 20x, right? Just Bitcoin itself
Yeah.
went 10x. Almost no, Bitcoin went what, like 5x or something. But Ether went 5x, and like Solana went 100. No, not 100, but like 12x, right? So it's like we already moved so much just on the majors, and there's still people walking around saying, "Ah, we nothing even happened." And it's like that's the froth you're talking about, right? As far as I'm concerned,
Yeah,
at
it's
least.
the fact that we've got 20K new meme coin launches a day. It's the fact that like everything is up massively. People who are saying, "Oh, the bull run hasn't even started." Like, it's fucking great engagement bait. Don't get me wrong, right? Like, everyone laps it up because they all think that, great, I've still got a chance to quote unquote make it. Like, that's what everyone wants to hear, right? Everyone wants to hear that you're still early, along with a million other people who have joined the space today. Like, it just, I don't know. At some point, someone has to be a bit objective and go, most coins are up a lot. Can they go up a lot
Yeah.
more? Yeah, of course they can. But you just load up a daily or a weekly chart, stick an EMA on it, and they're all pointing up. Like, you know, we've had a decent run, and we're not in that like accumulation range like we were, way back at the start of like 2023, sorry, 2013. Christ, that would be nice, wouldn't it? The start of 2023 where we kind of broke out and started that uptrend on BTC, and that was like the whole leg of the market, right? Like, it's very different now, very different.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm still hopeful that we get another leg, right? But I'm not going to sit here and tweet every day and be like, "You're still early. The bull run's got like a bajillion X in it. I can't wait to sell my Doge for $4.20."
Yeah. Well, I mean, now with Twitter payments, a lot of people are pushing that, so
Yeah.
unavoidable. But so talking about like the risks and everything, and potentially like, well, not potentially, but at some point markets turning down. Even looking at the last 3 months, we've been ranging in a pretty big range, actually, like 15% on the majors, and I'm sure the altcoins have been, well, no, they've been way more crazy. There's been a lot of people who lost pretty much their whole 2023, 2024 gain portfolio, right? And I wanted to hear about your approach to risk management, in particular with periods like we have right now, where the markets are pretty boring, majors are not really moving. Any single correction from Bitcoin brings a 50% dump on altcoins. And I'm interested, how do you avoid having, giving back a bunch of profits from last year, like pretty much everyone has?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm immune to giving profits back because that's bollocks, right? Everyone does at some point. It's just the scale of how you do it. And, for me, my balance of risk is quite low. This run in particular, it's been lower because the values have been higher, to be blunt. Um, and like for me, I've cashed a lot of money out. So when I sit there and I look at like my trading balance, if it went to zero now, which obviously it's not going to do because I'm not going to put myself in a position where it does that, I'd still be pretty happy with my gains. So having a cash out strategy and a cash out policy. So if you start with, $1,000 and you run it up to 10,000, right? You need to pay yourself too. Yeah. You need to do something like that. I always have that kind of process of at certain points, at certain levels, I need to take stuff out of the market because otherwise, what the fuck am I here for? Right? Like, I need to turn it into cash. Crypto's great,
Yeah.
but having a
So
cash
how
out
do you do that?
policy,
Because a lot of people mentally, I guess, or they're just like afraid of cashing out because, oh, but
yeah,
what if it 10x's from here, whatever? How do you convince yourself to get? Is it because like you had a lot of big moments that hurt you in the past, and like you're kind of like traumatized to the point that you learned a lesson, or is
I
there
think.
something else to it?
Well, I
Because
mean, maybe
because
there's a
that's the
part of
answer
that.
for me. That's what I would say. I've been traumatized a
Yeah,
few
yeah.
times, so.
Well, maybe it is a part of that, but it's also because when I sit down and I go, right, to be honest, I haven't done it specifically for 2024 because it's been the same plan for like a year and a half now. I've got either numbers or amounts or return targets that, I will never have more than X thousand dollars in my trading account, right? And the reason for that is, and that number changes, and that number has changed vastly over the last few years, but it's because I don't want to just sit there and go, well, I was trading with $1,000, now I'm trading with $10,000, now I'm trading with $100,000. Well, I'll just keep going, and then eventually, like, get so greedy one day that I just fuck it up. Or what's the point? If I run it up to, and this is one thing that I'm bad at, I guess, is taking that risk and just going, putting my foot on the gas and going like, well, it's now 100,000, so I can turn that into 1,000,000, right? Because I've been doing that every year for the last 3 years or whatever the numbers are. I can do it. no, I cash out at certain points, and I only ever want X amount in my Bybit account, essentially. So I'm not like a complete Nazi about it in terms of, well, I'm at $1,001. I need to cash out 500 or whatever, but I've got a plan in terms of allocations. So I've got X percentage of my net worth can be in trading, Y percent can be in investments, Y percent can be in spot bags, Y percent can be on chain. And if they change dramatically, I have rebalancing rules. So, like, let's say a meme coin pops off massively, and my little 5% stack of low cap bullshit becomes actually 25% of my entire like crypto net worth. Well, I need to fucking change that. I need to take some of that money out, or move it into trading, or move it into some sort of spot plays around like ETH. So that's my process around managing cash. But I guess before that, you actually have to make money. And in terms of
That's where
profit,
everyone fails. Yeah.
yeah, well, in terms of profits and profit taking, like there's 2 points to it. I set out most of my profit expectations when I enter the trade, right? And I'm like, well, I was discussing this in the group actually. I did quite a sort of deep dive on a Miro thought process and how recently we've kind of been in that little. It's had 3 runs basically. There's been like an accumulation phase. It's run quite parabolically, then died, and then reaccumulated, and then run, and then died, and reaccumulated recently, and it started and basically broke out, right? And then you put a nice parabolic curve on it, broken curve, and like, do you take profit there? Yes, no. And like to different people, that's going to be a different answer. Like for me, the answer was no, because I think or thought that Myro was going to have a much bigger run. And it's just about setting those expectations, and when you do make profits, and when you, I guess, face into different market conditions, like adjusting your size and your risk appetite. So my size at the moment isn't the size that it was 3 months ago, right? 3 months ago, we were in a heavy risk on altcoin market. Now we're in a ranging Bitcoin market where it's certainly not trending. Is it distributing? Don't know. Is spaghetti majorly risk on, i.e., everything's massively outperforming Bitcoin? No. There's a few altcoins that are moving. Great, trade them, but don't trade them with the same size that you were doing weeks ago, right? Because the risk return, in my opinion, just isn't there. So I probably gave a long and a bit of a twisted answer on that, but hopefully it kind of makes sense, right?
No, definitely. It's a good answer. And I mean, I feel like the only thing is just to make this mental shift of being able to tell yourself no, not falling into that greed and into that thought of, oh, I can 10x that too. Right? Because
Yeah.
we've seen this a million times on CT, right? Like people turn 1K into 100K and then just literally go out with less than what they started with.
Yeah.
And it
100%.
all comes from the greed of like, oh, this 100K can turn to a million now, so I'm not going to cash 50K,
Well,
right?
this is why it goes back to, it depends what you want to do, and it depends how you're trying to achieve that. If that's your goal to do that one trade, that's your fucking, I've got $10,000, right? And I'm just going to go into one meme coin that I absolutely love, and I'm going to put that in there. If it goes to zero, I can live with myself. And if it runs, then this is my cash out. I'm gonna, when it 10x's, I'll take my initial 10k out or whatever, and that's it. And I'm gonna ride it to 100 million, like high conviction, high gambling, degenerate play. Like if that's what you want to do, great. But it all goes back to and stems from having a plan and setting those expectations, so you don't have to think about it. In my opinion, when it happens, a lot of
Yeah,
people, and certainly when I started doing it, a lot of people don't have that plan, right? They don't have that. They don't know what they're going to do. They buy it. They go, when am I going to sell it? Oh my God, I don't know. Well, it's up 2x now. Do I take out my initial? Is it going to go to infinity? Fuck knows, right? And then every
yeah,
day you're making different decisions. You're inconsistent. Your performance is shit. You got nothing that you could say to someone else. This is exactly how I trade. If I see this, this is what I do. And I don't know. For me, it's like having that process and having that plan ahead, if this then that, is, it just makes it operationally so much easier when you're executing.
yeah. And it's also a question of your position, right? In terms of like where are you located with your portfolio allocations and like how well are you doing? Are you making money from other sources, from like trading on the side, other than holding this one bag? Because it feels like a lot of people just buy one huge bag of something that becomes their
Yeah,
whole personality, right?
become a
And
community
they
member.
don't, yeah, exactly. And they don't do anything else other than look at this one chart, tweet about it, and that's it. Which I think is, I mean, I don't know, from my perspective, that's a really bad idea to just have this one location and that's it. But like if it's a person who has a similar idea to what you're doing, where you know, on one hand you're trading, whether if it's majors or altcoins and whatnot, and then you just throw around money on different altcoins, and I mean, yeah, you can let them ride. Because like you said, you don't really think about it too much, right? You just get to this position where you say, I'm either turning this to a million from 10K, or if it goes down to zero, I won't really care. It won't affect me that much, right?
Yeah, 100%, and that's it. It's like take risks relative to your position. Is the kind of other bit, isn't it? It's like if I lose $100 tomorrow, I'm not going to notice, to be blunt. Like, not that $100 is a huge amount of money or anything, but like relative to my position, like yeah. But someone else losing $100 will be like, fuck, shit. That's like a month's wages in certain countries. Like, yeah, and a lot of people get sucked in, obviously, with the hype of like CT and people posting like $1 million P&Ls and stuff like that. And again, like, is that reality? Do you know it's real? Blah blah blah. Like, question everything is probably the other side of the coin.
Yeah, yeah. Be a little pessimistic.
Yeah, don't trust, verify.
Yeah, there's a sentence I love that I try to apply to everything I do in life, which is hope for the best, but be ready for the worst, right?
Yeah,
And I try to apply that to my trading too, and I feel like it's helping me a lot. Um, Hey, before we jump into the last two questions, I want to remind to everyone who's listening, if you have any questions, you can click on the chat box icon on the bottom right corner of the screen, leave any questions to Charlie. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to start opening the stage to anyone who wants to ask a question live, you can hop on. So yeah, Charlie, before we move on to the last question, I want to ask you, so
yeah,
you're a
sure.
part of Paragon. And
Yeah,
can you
yeah.
tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing there, and why did you decide to join Magus on this journey to start Paragon Group and you know everything that has to do with education?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the simple goal of the group was always to be what's the group that we wish we'd found when we started, right? Simple as that. And we've got like thousands of hours of educational content from anything from like TPO and all the order flow juju that Magus teaches. I mean, Doc does a bit more of a sort of simple system with EMAs and price action, and I do like altcoin momentum, spaghetti, all that kind of stuff. So there's a wide range from like three analysts who have spent a combined, I don't know, 20 years in the markets or something like that. Like, it's a lot. There's a lot of content there, as well as weekly outlooks, live streams, Q&As, indicators. It's just the whole works, right? There's loads of stuff. So I don't want to I try not to shill it too much. But it's like hard not to when you're proud of it. Do you know what I mean? We've been going for like two and a
Yeah,
half years, and there's literally so much in there. And the compliments and feedback that we get from people, some people say, "Shit, it's actually too much." Like, this is like a full-time job, and I'm like, "Yeah, welcome to trading." Like, I just wanted to draw one line on a chart and be a millionaire. I'm like, oh yeah, great. That's sadly, that's probably not how it works. Although it probably has
yeah,
been for one or two people, but yeah, you get my point. And that's it, really. The simple ethos of it came up a couple of years ago, and me and Magus got chatting through games actually, and I sort of started following his trading. We started talking about stuff, and it just came out quite organically between the two of us when we founded it because we both wanted to do it. And I actually ran a Discord for I think it was about 2 years. Called the Crypto Factory, so Charlie and the Crypto Factory, and it was completely free. I shared all my trading ideas, all my indicators, all that kind of stuff. But you had this real flip of like people being entitled and You were getting questioned every day on your trades. You still in this? You still in that? Like it was just it became such a hassle and a fucking headache. And I liked the concept of like teaching, sharing ideas, explaining my thoughts and rationale. But to be blunt, the type of people that came in and just were like,
Yeah,
"Are you still in
there's
this?"
lots of cunts.
Yeah.
It's definitely the best way to say that.
Well, you said it.
I mean, it's just like I think Magus is the one who tweeted about it today. How almost everyone is tweeting less and less charts recently, and it's not just the chop, right? I mean, I looked at it from my perspective. I'm not even posting that much on Twitter anymore, especially not like the. I used to make like once a week a big thread about the majors and everything, every single time
Yeah, yeah.
frame and all that, and I just don't do that much anymore because every single time there's been a couple of cunts just started to just like I
Yeah.
said, just being entitled and like starting to tell you you're wrong and you're dumb and that everything all your scribbles are stupid. And it's like it just makes you feel like, oh, why am I even bothering?
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
I mean, I can tell you the single time that the one event that stopped me from sharing all of my trade setups. You go back and so you see it on my fucking timeline, right? For years and years and years and years, I shared this is where I'm buying, this is where I'm selling. And then there was CPI. I can't remember the exact time, but I drew a squiggle and I said, "What's your prediction for CPI?" Here's mine. And then some dumb cunt messaged me afterwards and he was like, "I liquidated my last $500 on your CPI squiggle, blah, blah, blah. It didn't turn out like that." And I was like, "Oh my God, are you actually taking a trade off what I
yeah,
just put out as like this is engagement bait, really? Like, I'm not fucking taking a trade based off this shit. I barely even trade CPI. Sometimes I
yeah,
did, sometimes I didn't, but more out of boredom than anything, and with smaller balances and managing my risk that way. But like, someone fucking liquidated their last $500, which was like 2 months' wage in their country. And I just felt like a total cunt. And I was like, why am I even sharing this shit if like people are that retarded that they're gonna go out and blow everything up over a literal squiggly line and guess at an outcome that's like basically 50-50. Like,
yeah.
I don't
It's
know, man.
actually ridiculous to what length people follow others. It's honestly insane. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, and I think like, having that rational thought process, and you said it earlier, like people who share their thoughts on why they're bullish on this or why they're taking a position or why they're doing this, like that to me is worth much more than um
100%.
just going, "Oh, buy this." Like, okay, well, why? And I try and do that, and I try and give invalidations as well, right? So if I'm like on stream, like I'm on YouTube doing live streams or whatever, I'll be like, "Look, I've got a bag of this. I want to dump it on your heads at higher prices. Yeah, I'm here to make money. We all are. But in that process, I'm not going to say just buy it 'cause it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'd say this is when I would buy it, because it's showing some strength. And here's a nice invalidation. And obviously manage your position sizing according to your risk of I only want to lose 1% or whatever. Like that's how I try and position myself these days because it's just far more equitable, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the cunts are not going to go anywhere. We just got to learn how to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, I've blocked like hundreds of people in the last like 3 months, and it's just been. I think the signs of mass adoption and all that kind of stuff are great, but yeah,
At what
um,
cost?
yeah, I kind of want to go back to like a really small Twitter account. That's why I just like tweet a lot of memes, to be honest, these days. Because like sharing alpha, I just I do. I wouldn't necessarily call it alpha, but I share a lot more thoughts in the group and stuff, and I just try and keep most of it there. You tweet a Bitcoin short thesis, and you get 150,000 views of just people fucking crying at you because they're not prepared for it. Do you know what I mean? It tells me more about their mental state than anything else. But anyway, enough of me whinging about
Yeah.
about Twitter plebs.
Yeah. Well, the last question, we can move on to that. I want to ask you, what do you think making it is, and do you feel like you've reached like the making it state?
Ooh. Do I feel like I've made it? No, no. I don't feel like I've made it on the basis of um, I still think that there's more that I can achieve in terms of trading. Have I made it financially? Yes. I hit my goals a while ago, but do I want more? Yeah, I'm greedy. Everyone's greedy, right? We're hunter gatherers.
Yeah.
That's what we that's what we want. Um, so yeah, I guess it depends on the aspect. Have I made it in some ways? Yes. Have I made it in other ways? No. Like I've got a beautiful family. Like I love my family time. I love my friends and all that kind of stuff. And like the kind of quote unquote real side of life. I've got the freedom to kind of do whatever I want, but do I want to achieve more? Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it's your definition of made it. I suppose I have made it in the sense of I've got everything I want. I'm pretty free as far as life goes. I can make my own choices, but in terms of trading, I think there's always more that can be done, and there's always another trade. So I guess I will never feel like I've made it with trading, which is
Especially when you
why,
enjoy it, right?
yeah, I love it. Obviously a gambler. Look, I've been doing this for like 7 years, and all day, every day. And if I was going to get addicted, I'm pretty sure it would have happened by now, right? I love that meme. Sorry, but no,
Yeah.
I feel like that pursuit of perfection, which there's no such thing as perfection when it comes to trading. I think that is why you see people like Smartest Money, right? He's trading like what $100 million, like all open, all public to follow. Absolute hats off to him, legend. Like I couldn't cope with that kind of pressure, right? In terms of
Yeah. He
managing that
doesn't
kind
like
of.
me. He blocked me, man.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. I mean, there's always some
Someone's
beef
making
on
fun
Twitter
of him
somewhere.
about being very emotional, and I liked their. I think it was Silva. I liked his tweet, and dude just blocked me for liking someone else's tweet.
Oh, fair. But you gotta like,
Yeah.
I think I said it earlier, like I'm hyper
But I respect
competitive,
him. I
right?
give him props to him. Hats off to him. 100%. Like his trading is honestly next level. No doubt about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But why is he still here? Like you've got $50 million in the bank. Well, presumably he's got more in the bank and he's trading with 50 million or whatever the number is, 100
Yeah.
million. I don't know. I'm not
I
sure.
would guess it's the challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just you. Like it's like the people who say there's a lot of people who say like, oh, I just want to make like 10 million and I'm gonna retire. And I'm telling myself, I can't imagine myself retiring. At least not at this age, right? We're not that
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, I think
And
that's it.
it's it's like I'll tell you a personal story. My grandfather is 80 years old, and
Yeah.
he still has a job, and he doesn't need any money whatsoever. He's
Yeah.
well off, but he just works because, and he always says that like the moment he quits his job, he feels like he's gonna die within a week out of just boredom and his brain not working. So
Yeah, that's fair.
it's those challenges, and it's just trying to outperform yourself and trying to just prove yourself that you're better and that you can be better around people around you, about the majors you're comparing your performance to. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
it's like
There's
a
that
sport,
like
right?
yeah, it is a sport. It's a competitive sport that you can just keep and there is a running score, right? It's your P&L.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
always gonna
exactly.
be
It's like
there.
a video game, and the P&L is the leaderboard.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's just fun. Like I do enjoy it, and but like yeah, a little tidbit, I guess. I tried to quit before, so way back in was it 2021? Like it was post the market crash, which I did. I basically cashed out because of when my birthday is in May. I will also point out that I basically cashed everything out like close to the top. I shorted Matic down. I rode it back up on the same day, and I was like, "Fuck me! I finished this cycle so much better than the last one where I just got fucked by everything." Right? I didn't get fucked, but I gave back like the equivalent of 30x returns. So I was like, "No, you
No,
know what? I've made a decent whack of money. I'm gonna fucking just I'm gonna do nothing for like 20 years. Fuck this. I can basically retire. Let's go." Within about 4 weeks, when my daughter was at school, and I'm kind of realizing that I'm quite anchored to like where I live, like family commitments and stuff, old grandparents, all this. And I was like, yeah, I can't really do much. So
yeah,
actually, like, I might as well do something. And yeah, like your granddad, like if you stop doing something, if you stop moving, you just die, don't you? Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's just mental death at some point. Like you need to keep your brain, just focused on those things, those challenges. And trading is super complicated and super hard, no matter how long you've been around, no matter how good you are. It's like you said when we were talking about the challenges. I still experience some things sometimes that I experienced on the first week of me trading, right?
yeah.
So it's like an ongoing battle.
But I love the like conundrum or the contradiction that trading is the easiest and the hardest thing in the world. Because fundamentally, you're pressing buy and you're pressing sell, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
You've got two buttons and a dream, and that's it. And then you've got whatever tools you need to make those decisions. But fundamentally, that's really all you're doing is you are buying and selling shit at different times.
Yeah,
So
that's a really good point.
the concept is simple, the reality is not.
Yeah. Well, we can go over a couple of questions before we end things. If anyone wants to ask any questions and come on stage, you can feel free to request right now. We have Ron asking, how would you refine the psychology part of trading?
I think a lot of it comes from the recording your emotional state as well, or reviewing bad trades, for example, or reviewing when you didn't execute. You didn't buy WIF at $10 million. Why? You didn't buy Pepe at $300,000. Why? Like understanding your thought process, your frame of mind on that day. Writing the things down. Sometimes, uh, as an aside, like I get pitched a lot of projects to invest in, and I will write down my reason for not investing in them as well as why I do. Because then when I see it launching and it going 100x, and I go, why didn't I do that? And it's this reason. Do you know what I mean? It's the same with trading. Like when you're taking a trade or when you're you managed one poorly. Why were you a bit hungover? Did you just mark things up wrong? Did you read the market wrong? Was there something that could have told you differently? Like, how can you make it better? And if the answer is no, good trade idea, good thesis, market just didn't agree, tick, next. I think in doing that process, you strengthen your psychology massively. And there are other things you can do like sleep properly and exercise, do all that kind of stuff. But to be honest, I'm not going to be the one that preaches about exercise. So
Yeah, that's really good. And we have Boot asking, just joined. Apologies if this has already been touched on, but how would you begin to approach developing an edge?
I think it's really the sort of repetition of the same thing. It's picking one thing. It's becoming obsessed with it to the point of how can I make this better? What can I do to get the extra 1% out every time? What can I do to make my execution, better? Should I be using limits instead of markets? Well, yeah, of course, if you can. Just making the little tiny changes that every single time you are that little bit better. I mean, you know, when people say, "What's your edge?" like I find that whole concept really bizarre because I probably can't sum it up really, really well. My edge is longing the strongest coin. That's pretty much it, right? And that comes from a foray of an understanding of the market, the narratives, the drivers that are currently in play, being able to read spaghetti, being able to construct trade ideas before they happen, and being a combination of predictive and reactive to the conditions that are in front of me, right? And that whole thing comes from experience, comes from the journaling, comes from reviewing, comes from the executing. It's that whole process. So I don't think there's like a simple way to develop an edge, but it's being relentlessly obsessed with one thing, which is why I tried to say pick one thing. And obviously, I didn't start off and go, right, I want to trade altcoin momentum. It just ended up being that that's where I ended up because it made the most sense to me. And that's how I got there. So I traded Renko for a bit. I traded Ishimoku. I traded EMAs. I did all this stuff. And it didn't really make as much sense as relative strength. But hopefully that
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah, it's a really good answer. And it's really just that, just starting with something and obsessing with it, just doing it so much until you just start, seeing patterns, seeing what's right, what's wrong, what you should be repeating, what you should be avoiding. and you'll find ways to refine that, and or at some point just say, okay, that's not it, right?
Yeah, and I think an extension of that point would be at the end there. I just gave a load of systems that I used that obviously I'm not using now because I couldn't find a repeatable way of extracting value from the market using those techniques. Doesn't mean someone else can. There are some really good EMA traders. Doc, for example, uses EMAs, price action, and what's it called, like SMT techniques or whatever it is. Like that is completely different to how I trade, but it works for him. He has nailed the last few weeks, like absolutely nailed them. I imagine outtraded me in terms of percentage terms, right? Using much simpler techniques. And there are times when my approach will be better. There are times when Magus's order flow approach of trading Bitcoin, low time frame, although he does do swings and momentum as well, will outperform both of us. And it's kind of that try not to be a jack of all trades and be a master of one is the sort of salient point, and what works for you or what works for others might not necessarily work for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's you need to find what works for you and just work with that. But I feel like a lot of people spend too much time trying to find the best thing for them rather than just starting to do something, right?
Yeah,
Just do
true.
it and work with it, and actually prove yourself that that's not it, and not just try to take 2 setups with some system and then give up on it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
EMA traders have fun in a trending market, right? They usually crush it when you get a simple cross on some time frame and a range breakout, and off you go. There's a lovely percentage return. In a mean reverting market, they get absolutely fucked and get chopped
Yeah.
left, right, and center. So if you're picking one thing, it's like trying to work out when that works and when it doesn't. You might think, oh, my system doesn't work. So, well, no, you actually just need to add some context to it, which you could do by this, and yada yada yada, and building on it so that you get to a point where actually, yeah, I'm going to trade EMAs once we've broken out of a range. Like that's it, as simple as that, right? Or could be as simple as that. Not that I trade like that, but you get my point, right? Like bringing those pieces of the puzzle together and refining it so that actually in different conditions, your system operates differently. It gets a little bit more complex, but
yeah, because the market is dynamic, right? So your system, your whole system, which is like your whole edger and all systems underneath it, need to be ready for the dynamic market. Because, like I said, in certain conditions, some things might work. In certain conditions, they won't.
Yeah, 100%.
And you want to be ready for that. Yeah. Charlie. Oh yeah, you're back.
Yeah. No, sorry, I was here. I was just yeah.
No worries. All right, we have Tia gone, who's requesting. We're gonna let him hop on, and I think we can just end the space if no one else has any other questions.
Hi, good afternoon, guys.
Hey, mate, how's it going?
Great. Nice to hear you guys talking. Interesting conversation.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
I have maybe a couple of questions if there is time.
Go ahead.
The first one is I understand you mentioned something, Charlie, about like playing with less money this week than the previous 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I understand like the process of the risking and all that, but when you're like in your position, you already reach your desired amount of money. You are not that greedy, and in my stage, I am just climbing my portfolio and trying to gain some in different positions. I am mainly focused on low caps, so not trading in the probabilistic way that a lot of people do it. But my question is, when you have not reached that desired amount, and CT already have your mind fogged with all the PNLs and all the amounts that people place with. My question is, how do you feel when it's time to the risk, and what percentage would you say that it's okay to like before the 2 weeks, and in comparison to now, what is the percentage of your current like risk? What are you risking in comparison to previous weeks?
Yeah, I see what you mean. So there's kind of a few points in that, I guess, for me. So one is like the on-chain low cap space is obviously very different to the perp space, which is what I'm kind of predominantly talking about in trading, because I will still take risk on positions on like low cap, like shitcoins, basically, right? And that's kind of what you were saying that you were operating in, but I will go for less and less of those. And the way that I'm thinking of risk and position sizing and expectancy in rotations, which is how I trade, is I'm looking at spaghetti and I'm going, there's about 3 coins that are outperforming Bitcoin with a reasonable like level at the moment, right? So Bitcoin, let's say, is up 1%. Most altcoins are up 2 to 3%. A couple of altcoins are up, 5 to 15%, right? And to me, that's just not like as attractive as the conditions that we found ourselves in a few weeks ago. And that makes sense with Bitcoin in a range. And like for me, I always preach about like the context of the market that we're sat in, right? So when we start getting up to range highs, and when we start seeing more rotational strength on altcoins, I will up that risk and go back to my sizing and my expectancies on like the breakout percentages from a few weeks or even months ago now is probably more like it, because at this time I have to accept what the market is giving me, right? I can't just go, well, I need to reach my goal of X, so the market has to do this. Like that is just not going to happen. And I will bore you with a quick story really quickly, because one of my friends did exactly that. Who's actually doesn't really talk to me anymore, but whatever. He ran up like a 50,000 euro account to 500,000, and then was like, I was like, mate, just take some out. He was like, no, I want 1 million. And lo and behold, like story as old as time, it went back to like 100k, right? 50k to 100k, still pretty good, lovely return, but could have had a lot more, and made the kind of age-old mistake of the market owes me this, and I'm not responding to what the market's offering. Like to me, the market right now is not offering as much as it was a few weeks ago, right? And it's really easy to say in hindsight, but the last couple of weeks haven't been as strong as 2-3 months ago. So I don't know, to address your question specifically, like I've managed my risk based on charts, timeframes, or not timeframes, charts, and spaghetti, and the amount of altcoins that are massively outperforming Bitcoin, right? Because it tells me about risk appetite. But for you, in terms of how do you switch off for Twitter, it's a really difficult thing, because you're always going to kind of be influenced and have this social pressure that you should have made it, you should have made X, Y, Z. Someone's longed some shitcoin and they've made $5 million today, but that happens every day. That happens. Someone somewhere has won the lottery, right? Like it gets easier and easier, I guess, the more you see it. And I guess when you start focusing on process and you start moving away from, well, actually, what am I trying to achieve? And I'm not trying to achieve an overnight success. I'm trying to actually, create the next 5 years of my life. And you start thinking slightly higher time horizons. Like I think it becomes a lot easier, personally. So it's a real long answer, but I think it was quite a kind of complex question and probably warranted it. Does that make sense? Or is there anything you think I've missed?
No, I totally understand what you mean, and it is a switch of mindset in the way that I do things. And one thing that you mentioned is focusing on process. That is key, I would say. I am focusing too much in numbers, but I have the process right in my mind, so it's a little bit weird. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the second,
Yeah.
Numbers, I feel like, is something that will blind you really strongly. So just avoiding it as a whole is probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's that process over profits like adage until you are at a position where actually, you understand that the process that you're following and you're comfortable with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
yes. And my second question is, I just was thinking, and one of the things that has happened to me, like yeah, a couple of times, is that the thesis is what helps me to uh, hold some position in some tight spots. But when I need to cash out, I need to leave the thesis go alone. Like so, it's an interesting idea that I was thinking, man. Maybe you have some thoughts about that. But you were mentioning that you were longing the three best assets, or yeah, taking them as reference. But my perspective in this idea that I want to share with you is that at the beginning we want to enter in some projects because we have a great setup, first of all, and a good thesis. But when and I am talking mostly in like middle time frame, three more than 3 to 5 months. And when the time is going on and the trade is going to our way, uh, we tend to get too attached to a thesis and not too attached to like a perfect setup to cash out. So it's an interesting idea, leaving the thesis that got you there in the first place and taking it out of the equation in order to capitalize on the scenario that you are involved in. So yeah, not sure if you have something about that.
I think I get what you mean, but I suppose my approach and my thoughts, because I'm relatively risk averse as much as I trade crypto, is that at some point you have to cash out, and when you're putting that thesis together, so for example, the Miro trade that I was talking about, like I put that thesis together that it was going to trend really hard and that I wasn't going to get chopped up in the like low time frame thought process, so that if we break market structure or something like that, it's fine. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to let it ride. And that was my risk appetite when I decided to take the trade at the time. It was wrong. I didn't want to, and I did not adapt to that because that was not the plan. That was not the plan that I had. Right. I think that's the kind of how do I put it? It's not the learning thing because I'm happy. I'm still happy with how that planned out. Like it was a losing trade. Like I'm happy to lose trade. Well, I wasn't a losing trade. Like I'm still in profit, but I gave back like I don't know 15-20% or something off the highs. But that's part of it. Like I'm going to get the risk appetite wrong sometimes. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to get all of it wrong sometimes at different times. Sometimes I'm going to be massively greedy and round trip, and other times I'm gonna take profits too early. And sometimes once in a blue moon I will time the absolute pico top. Do you know what I mean? But as long as I'm consistently extracting some form of value over a period of time, I can stomach the odd loss. I'm not sure if I fully answered your question. I feel like a bit of a politician's answer, but
No, I understand what you mean, and I am also trying to understand your point of view because we are like totally opposite. But yeah, I am just learning today your profile and all that stuff. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks for
no, thank
coming
you,
on,
mate.
man.
Thanks for the question.
Well, Charlie, we've been running for an hour and 40 minutes. I think we can wrap it up. I think this is the
Yeah, man.
longest space we've done.
I'm not sure
But
if
yeah,
that's a
dude,
good or a bad thing. I'm like
that's fantastic.
really
No, that's
chatting over
fantastic.
here.
I've had a great time, and I feel like the
Yeah, me too,
listeners
man.
learned a lot. Well, before we end, Charlie, again, thank you so much for coming. It's been a real pleasure. Do you want to add anything before we end everything?
No, just thank you for taking the time to have me here. Obviously, all you degenerates, go check out IDEX and go paper trade and win your share of 250k. That's
Thank you.
a pretty reasonable trade, isn't it? I think if my RR correct,
Yeah, honestly, I feel like if I would be a newcomer, this is something perfect to
yeah, and that's
to
like
jump into.
genuinely not just because I'm here. Like, some people with like small balances, if you're doing that or doing airdrop farming and stuff like that, like even that side of crypto
Yeah.
is absolutely
And the thing is,
phenomenal.
I think there's 10,000 participants right now, and if I'm not mistaken, the top 150 people get a prize money. So it's a
Nice.
decent chance. I feel like, yeah. But yeah, guys, if any of the listeners is not following Charlie, make sure to check his profile. Make sure to give him a follow. And if you like what you heard, I feel like the Paragon Group is really one of those things. Obviously, it's a paid service, but I feel like if you're looking for education, this is the type of things you want to look for, especially with people like Magus, with Doc and Charlie. That's a good bang for the buck. So make sure to check that out as well if you enjoyed this conversation. Yeah, like Charlie said, make sure to check out the IDEX profile, join the Discord, join the testnet competition, and yeah, hopefully win some money.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
And yeah, Monday we will have notes as well from this episode. So if you joined late, if you are too lazy to listen to the recording, and this will be recorded, just wait for Monday, and we'll post a summary of everything. And yeah, Charlie, again, thanks for coming, mate. Been a pleasure.
Thank you, man. Thank you, everyone, for being here. See ya.
All right, have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for coming. Cheers.